Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Night of Champions 2014 preview and predictions.
Aw, yeah, what's going on, guys? John, aka VocalAggression, here alongside my cohort and commentary, Ashton, for Night of Champions 2014 preview and predictions. And I gotta tell you, this card, it's gonna be very intriguing due to some very recent developments, and of course the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. But overall, I'm expecting...
people, this is why we wait until Saturday to record.
Absolutely, because it was announced today that Roman Reigns will be out of action for a few weeks. We know certainly that he is going to miss Night of Champions, and so his match with Seth Rollins, I think, has been canceled. Where that leaves Seth Rollins, I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit later. But even with these developments and with the way the card is shaped out, I'm expecting a pretty good show. I mean, nothing really stellar after NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way by comparison, but certainly a good show that I think can stand on its own merits. So...
Absolutely. Do we want to get right into this, or do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we got into the preview?
I think we can get right into the preview, man, so go
ahead. All right. Well, the generic match of the night, a.k.a. we wanted to give Chris Jericho a last match before his run is over this time match. Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton. I do not care, but I do think that Orton is going to pick up this win.
I think so as well. See, what created a greater interest in this match for me was because, I mean, you know that I'm more of, I guess, like the internet guy between the two of us. I always read the reports, the stories, this, that, and the other. And apparently, you know, Randy Orton may allegedly be feeling a bit more frustrated with his spot as of late. I don't know if it's just playing up against still not getting his one-on-one championship rematch or whatever the case may be. And you know, I've been thinking it's so weird that Chris, like, this is his final opponent before he leaves, because we always know Chris's style. He always likes to put over the next guy, or like an up-and-coming mid-card actor, just somebody he's fond of, before he walks out the door. So I'm thinking, how could Randy benefit? And honestly, Ashton, I wouldn't be surprised if that Randy Orton getting the win here doesn't finally allow him in a serious conversation about championship status. You know, that match against Brock Lesnar. So I certainly agree with you that Randy Orton is getting the win, but putting the rest of the pieces together for this, I think Jericho is being fed to Orton so that Orton can finally get in contendership status. So I think this match has greater implications than I originally gave it credit for, and it should be a solid outing between these two. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's two of probably the top 5 in-ring workers in the WWE right now. And I mean, it's going to be a good match no matter what. But I do agree with you. I think that this match could serve the purpose of making Randy Orton look credible so that he can at least get into the conversation of challengers for Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely. And of course, we will discuss that main event, you know, at the conclusion of this video. But yeah, that's really what I think the purpose of this is. Because I was scratching my head. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense knowing how Jericho likes to operate. What's the purpose? I think that's the purpose. I think Jericho is pretty much cannon fodder, if you will, for Randy Orton's championship aspirations. It should be a nice 15-minute affair, I would assume. These guys will tear the house down. Orton will get the win, probably with some sudden, sick-looking RKO. And then he's got all eyes on Lesnar. At least I hope he does, because that could be a match of the year contender for 2014. So
Jericho goes for a lion salt. Orton catches him with an RKO, calling it.
Yeah, somehow he'd make that work. So, yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, by the way, you know what? Now, because we are talking about Orton possibly being in the title picture, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. And this is about as close to literally being an elephant in the room as we can discuss when it comes to the WWE. The Big Show potentially being next in line for the World Championship. I hate it. I hate it so much. Last year, Big Show main evented Survivor Series, and it was a friggin' snooze fest.
Yeah, it was awful when Big Show was in championship conversations, when he was actually a legitimate contender.
Nobody wants to see him be a champion anymore. People were cheering for Randy Orton last year.
Yeah, I think it's not just, you know, people not only don't want to see Big Show as a champion anymore, how can you even buy Big Show as a contender? You know, the last time he was in the ring with Brock Lesnar.
Exactly, yeah, he got dominated.
Got absolutely demolished. And here's my thing. Big Show isn't even on this card. Like, at least Randy Orton beating Chris Jericho, I can easily see Ashton the next night on Raw, some kind of, maybe even we won't see John Cena, which again, I'm really going to have to bite my tongue because I think you and I are really going to have it out when we get to that championship match. But somehow, I'll just put it that way, we see Orton come out and say, hey, well, I won my match last night, and hell, I was on the pay-per-view period to begin with, so if anybody should be in this conversation, it's me. If Big Show is next in line, I'm not even the biggest Randy Orton fan, though I'll admit I sympathize with him more and more each passing week, knowing that he's doing this rather than getting his rightful rematch. I'm going to be so miffed, because this is a match I've been wanting forever. I have no interest in seeing Big Show whatsoever.
Yeah, I completely on the same page here, dude. I don't know why the WWE thinks that he is still an attraction. Like, I get that he's big, but especially after the performance, and not even the performance, but the beat down that he suffered at the hands of Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble in January. He's the guy that you should keep the furthest away from Brock Lesnar during this title reign, because if he gets anywhere near Lesnar, it's going to be embarrassing.
Now, I know, like, commentators have really, like, hyped up his recent union with Henry and how Big Show's gotten in shape, and he does look to be in terrific shape, and on a personal level, I am happy for the Big Show. But I don't think that should serve as a platform to get him into championship conversation and say, hey, should we put Big Show on the marquee for a future pay-per-view against Brock Lesnar? No!
Right.
No, like, the hilarious thing, Ashton, the hilarious thing is that even though Sheamus, who that's another guy we'll be talking about a little bit later, is kind of like in limbo right now. Like, he's a mid-card champion, but he doesn't really have that same presence that he used to. I'd rather see Sheamus be in a conversation against Brock Lesnar before the Big Show, simply because at least I haven't seen Sheamus get dominated by Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I've seen Big Show get handed his pride and dignity.
And we're not even talking like, oh, Brock Lesnar beat him up 12 years ago, so he shouldn't get his title shot out. No, this is literally this year.
Exactly.
And you know what? That being said, I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to segue into Mark Henry versus Rusev, because I believe that after Rusev beats Mark Henry, it would make sense, because rumor has it Rusev is being built up to get fed to Cena. So if that does happen, and we're kind of going along the lines of believing that Lesnar is going to have Orton next in line, then Rusev Cena, I think Mark Henry and Big Show could feud.
Yes, and you know what?
I would mark out for Mark Henry versus Big Show way more than I would give a crap about Brock Lesnar versus Big Show.
Absolutely, dude. And hey, I'll even give those two guys credit, being Big Show and Mark Henry. Their feud over the World Heavyweight Championship, I thought they pulled out some good big man matches that I enjoyed. And you know what? I kind of had a feeling that would be the direction, because Big Show, just that one backstage segment he had with Henry saying, I know you feel like you have to take care of this thing with Rusev, but remember our deal. We're going to be the most dominant tag team in history. Don't screw this up. And Henry's just saying, well, I got to, take care of business. So I could see Big Show being the heel in this scenario. Maybe he loses to Rusev, and maybe that loss runs into the tag team he has with Big Show, and it starts affecting his performance there too. And Big Show just gets fed up with his crap, and then they feud. It sucks not seeing Henry as a heel in any kind of program, but I think those two can make it work. And as far as Rusev Cena goes, again, I want to kind of avoid talking about Cena too much, but if they would do that, Cena probably would get the win, but how great would it be if Rusev would even be able to beat Cena, if they're really serious about Rusev being this monstrous villain. So yeah, two compelling programs there, and then as you said, Ashton, it frees Orton up for Lesnar, which is probably the biggest thing I care about right now as far as the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is concerned.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I think Lesnar and Orton is a dream match that almost every wrestling fan who knows about their history together wants to see.
Dude, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? I've gone back on the WWE Network, and I've been kind of reliving the age of Orton, his 2007 WWE Championship reign, and watching the matches that I never really got to see and only read about on WWE.com, after they had occurred. And I just keep visualizing in my mind, like, Lesnar setting Orton up for the F5, and Orton's in midair, but he catches him somehow in the RKO. Like, I want to see it so bad. So, yeah, it's definitely a dream match of mine, without question.
Dude, I would absolutely love it if after the Jericho-Orton match, something happened with the Authority that turned Orton face. Maybe since Seth Rollins doesn't have a match now, maybe Kane comes out and he says, Randy Orton, we feel as though your performance hasn't been up to snuff, so you're not going to be in one match tonight, you're going to be in two. And then they do Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, and Orton comes out of it looking like a sympathetic babyface, and then he can move on to challenge Lesnar after that. I want that kind of Randy Orton-Brock Lesnar feud. I want Lesnar to be the killer, and I want Randy Orton to be the badass babyface, just not giving up and just trying to take it to Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean, really, if he was to revert back to the Legend Killer at any point, I mean, Lesnar is the only one whose head, is not on a mantle for Randy Orton yet, and it would just be amazing to witness. We just need a path to get there, and this seems like it could be the path. Big Show feuding with Henry, or hell, even those two staying together and going after the tag titles, which is another scenario I guess we'll be discussing later. And again, Rusev and Cena, I've read the rumors too. They make me incredibly uncomfortable, but they're present, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, here's the thing. I think what gave credence to those rumors, they gave Rusev the main event Raw segment this past Monday.
Exactly.
With Henry.
Yep.
Yeah, and to give him that spot, I think they wanted to see how they'd perform in it, because you swap Henry out with Cena, and you're looking at some future episodes of Raw, some future main event segments, I think. So.
Yeah, and it didn't perform well at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't.
But on that same note, we have to kind of address the fact that they didn't really advertise it as a Rusev segment. They advertised it as Mark Henry rallying America.
That's true. That is true.
So, definitely not the same effect. Yeah, do we agree that Rusev wins, though?
Yes, Rusev's definitely beating Mark Henry.
We are in agreement for 2 out of 2 so far. Jericho over Orton and Rusev over Mark Henry. Do you think that Seth Rollins is going to have a match on this card? Because the only non-title match left to discuss would be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Obviously, Reigns is not going to be here. So, do you think Rollins has a match?
No, I don't think Rollins is going to have a match. I kind of have a fantasy idea for what I'd want to do with Rollins, but I don't think in reality he's going to have a match. So
what's your fantasy idea then?
Well, okay. We have Seth Rollins. I would have him come out, cut a promo about how he triumphantly took out both members of the Shield. I would definitely have him use the announcement of Roman Reigns being out of action to bolster his own ego. Say, see, I told you all, but you didn't want to believe me. I finally destroyed my own creation of the Shield, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe he makes some guarantees that his night at Night of Champions is not over. Then to get a little bit into the Cena-Lesnar discussion, of course, I would have Lesnar go over Cena, but then I'd have Cena snap after the match, really take his frustration out on Lesnar somehow, even if it was like a chair shot, an AA, just out of anger that he couldn't get the job done. Rollins comes out, maybe even nails a curb stomp as Lesnar's recovering, because as you've said so many times, everybody's the same size when they're on their hands and knees. Right as he's about to cash in, Dean Ambrose comes out. They have a scuffle. So you have Cena's angry, Lesnar's down, Rollins is down, Ambrose is up, and the crowd is going nuts. So I would actually have Ambrose's return close this pay-per-view if I was booking, because I think Ambrose and Rollins is one of the biggest feuds in WWE right now, and I'd want to give it that spotlight, but that's just me.
I 100% agree with you. My only problem with this logic is trying to figure out a way to make Brock Lesnar vulnerable enough for it to be believable that Rollins would cash in.
I just think, I wanted to save this for later, but we'll have this discussion now. We've been talking about Cena kind of undergoing somewhat of a personality change or an internal conflict.
Do you think that's going to kind of blow off tonight?
I think it's going to manifest itself in just a beatdown that's so uncharacteristic of him. Heyman's not even going to know how to react, because on one hand, his client is still the champion, and he got what he wanted out of Cena, but at the same time, getting what he wanted out of Cena kind of threatens his bread and butter. And maybe Cena just repeatedly nails chair shots and then he concludes it with an AA or a steel chain or just something like that, almost like Thugonomic Cena would do, but this other Cena, it just seems so far out of character. Again, Rollins would come out, maybe even hit Lesnar in the face with a briefcase and then a curb stomp, really make it seem like you have to bring in tanks to take down Brock Lesnar. And then when it seems like there is a chance, Ambrose runs in, keeping in on his promise. Anytime you try and cash in, it's TNT, and it's going to blow up in your face. And Lesnar would stay down. I would even have him roll out of the ring and get out of Dodge with Heyman, and have Ambrose and Rollins give them their spotlight back. Ambrose gets the leg up, sends Rollins out, maybe even knocks him out, and that's the image we close on, a returning and triumphant Dean Ambrose at Night of Champions, because Lesnar's only going to make so many appearances. These two guys, especially with Roman Reigns out of action, whatever you're doing with Cena, they need to be the focus, and that's how I would get us there.
Absolutely. If Cena's getting transferred to the Rusev train, they can't be main eventing pay-per-views, and I think that is the perfect excuse for Rollins versus Ambrose to main event Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, there you go. So that's my fantasy booking. What do I actually think will happen? Personally, I think we'll get a promo from Rollins, and then in that same segment, we have Ambrose return, which...
Yep. That's exactly what I think is going to happen too, dude.
Yeah, not to stroke my own ego, but it seems so anticlimactic by comparison.
It does. It really, really does. I completely agree with you. I wish that they would figure out a way, even if they don't do the same way you would, but I think that they should definitely try and figure out a way to have Ambrose's return close this pay-per-view.
Absolutely. Because, see, my thing is, dude, you can't have, again, I apologize for doing this, but you can't have Lesnar and Cena just have a normal finish. You can't. You just can't have Lesnar win, prance around with the belts, and leave. There's got to be some consequence for Cena. There's got to be some repercussion, and that can tie into everything else.
John,
somehow.
We're talking about John Cena here.
I know, and that's the frustrating part because you're right. But man, is it frustrating. Because all the pieces are there, dude. Like, even though we call it fantasy booking because it is, it's pure fantasy, I don't think it would be that hard to at least make some semblance of it reality. Yeah. I'm not talking about doing it to the letter, but I think all the pieces are there, dude. And I just think it's a shame that I don't think WWE is going to put them together. Because had Reigns been on this card, I'll say this right now, I actually would have gone with your idea. Ambrose being a loose cannon and getting Rollins the DQ win. And then creating all that tension. But Reigns is out now for a few weeks, at least, if not maybe like 1 to 2 months. Because they even said 3 months, but I don't think he'll be out that long, personally. So, yeah, I just think they're going to have Rollins cut the promo, touting his own success, touting that he fulfilled his promise of taking out the Shield. Ambrose comes out. It gets a nice reaction, but you can make it so much bigger. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Yep, I completely agree. They're probably just going to have Rollins cut a promo and then have Ambrose interrupt him. It's pretty much WWE 101. So let's get into our actual title matches. And in my opinion, the least relevant championship match on this card, Tag Team Championships, Usos versus Gold Star.
This is one of 2 championship matches on this card, Ashton, where a lot of people seem to be waffling between title change and champions retaining. And to me, I'm sorry, I don't even mean to say this like jokingly or writing anybody off, but this is just another case to me of LOL Usos win. I can't
exactly. Agreed.
Yeah, I can't picture Gold Star getting the win here. Now, I know the logic that some people have used, and I don't even, again, say that mockingly. It is really good and genuine logic. The champions are injured. It would seem like the perfect environment to do a title change for heels because they capitalize on it.
But in the WWE's eyes, it's the perfect opportunity for the Usos to overcome an injury.
Exactly. That's what we're not really taking into account here. It's the Usos. I actually said to myself, Ashton, that after they beat Harper and Rowan in 2 out of 3 falls, it was going to take some team, and you know what that team is, the Ascension. It was going to take a team at least like the Ascension or the Ascension themselves to convince me that there was even a chance that the Usos would lose the tag team titles, much less it actually happening. Gold Star is not that team. I do think title changes may occur on this show, but this won't be the match to do it. I think Usos retain. Because I'm stubborn, because I'm egocentric, I'm going to keep saying that the Ascension are going to be the ones to do it. Should be a great tag team bout, but this would just be such an awkward time, I think, for the Usos to lose the tag title this way to these opponents. Again, once they let the ship sail on the Wyatt family, I just really didn't know what team could fill that void, and Gold Star just isn't it. So Usos to retain.
Exactly. My points are all pretty much the same as yours, dude. It's Gold Star. They're heels now. Didn't they have a match against the Usos at the last pay-per-view too?
I don't think they did. No.
They didn't? Who did the Usos face at SummerSlam?
I don't even think the Usos had a match at SummerSlam, did they?
Did they?
I don't think they did.
Huh. And if they did, apparently it was super forgettable.
Yeah, really. There you go.
No, but really, I do not think that the Goldust and Stardust tag team here is gonna They're not going to take the titles off the Usos. It's just not going to happen. It's that simple.
Right.
It's the Usos. It's LOL Usos win. It's the tag team incarnation of John Cena. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Anything else left to say about this?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, moving on. Intercontinental or United States, John, you pick.
Let's do United States.
Okay, Sheamus versus Cesaro. Dude, I know that you want Cesaro to win, but I think we can both agree that this is like 95% Sheamus wins.
That's the thing. And look, I don't personally disagree with you, but why I wanted to do this match next is because this was the other match that I was talking about, where a lot of people seem to be waffling this and that. Now, the only reason I think that Cesaro may win this match is because of what we were just discussing prior, that being Rusev potentially doing an angle with Cena. Because you know what my game plan for Rusev has been all this time. Him and Sheamus feud, Rusev wins the United States title. It's the ultimate insult to America. A guy that, you know, whose valet lambasts them every week and puts them into the ground, has, you know, a representative who is the United States champion, you know, in Rusev. So it's the ultimate disgrace. Now I'm not so sure, because maybe in WWE's eyes they feel like Rusev has evolved beyond the United States title, which if they do genuinely believe that, I completely disagree. Just putting that out there right now. That said, do I trust those reports, or do I trust my own thinking about the matter, that it would make sense for Rusev with this gimmick to be United States champion, in which case, yes, Sheamus would have to retain here. It's
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
Even if it is a 100% guarantee John Cena versus Rusev is next in line, does that make it significantly less likely that Sheamus is going to retain here? Because I don't think it does.
See, and that's difficult, Asher, because on the one hand, you'd have to think, like, who comes after Cesaro if not Rusev? And that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Big Show, who cares?
Big Show, maybe. And,
like I said, though, who cares? I mean, WWE, right. For all we know, they could be like, we need somebody to feud with Sheamus. Find someone on NXT. Okay, fine. Let's bring up frickin' Tyler Breeze. I don't know. You know what I mean, though? Like,
yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, WWE can make a contender for the U.S. title regardless of who's the current champion right now. Like, it's one of those championships that the WWE really just pulls a lot of crap out of their butts for. Like, they just do not care.
Again, I do see some title changes occurring on this show. Maybe even if just one, but again, I don't think this.
I don't see any.
See, and see. Well,
maybe one. That one being Divas, and that's a very slim possibility in my opinion, but it is possible.
And see, for me, I was thinking, believe it or not, I was even thinking Intercontinental, but we'll get to that in, I guess, just a second here.
And so, you know what? I am waffling a little bit on that one too, so you got me there.
So, you know what? I'm going to agree with you, Ashton. I'm going to say that Sheamus retains, because here's the thing, and this isn't an insult to either guy. If anything, I try and mean it in my own way as a compliment. I think these two are only together because they know the kind of matches these two can put on. I think they have great chemistry. I've enjoyed their matches consistently. I think they've had enough time apart where I can enjoy them all over again. Give these guys 15 minutes. Hell, even if you do want to do 10, I guess I'll settle for it. I think they can make something happen. Sheamus retains. He continues his reign onward. And where Cesaro goes, I don't even know. I mean, I'm hot on the act. I want to see him do something, but I've also got to be realistic. It just doesn't seem like the United States title is in the cards. So,
yeah, I mean, historically, I'm doing a little bit of research right now. I'm not super deep into it, but historically, it looks like on average 2 titles change hands on Night of Champions each year.
Right.
I'm kind of going back in 2013. So last year, it was, I think it was Tag. No, it wasn't Tag. Let's see. Last year, it was the WWE title. It went from Orton to Bryan, but then it got held up in abeyance, so it didn't really matter. And then RVD beat Del Rio via disqualification, so that title didn't technically change hands. But still, the champion lost. So if you want to count that, that's 2. If not, it's 1. 2012, it was the Divas Championship went from Layla to Eve, and the tag titles went from R Boom to Team Hell No. And then 2011, we had a world title change. That was when Mark Henry went on his first reign as the Hall of Pain dominant champion. And of course, that was the when John Cena beat Alberto Del Rio, and then would eventually lose it back to him, and then Punk got involved, and it was just a mess. That was the good old night of, what was it, night of punks and COOs or whatever it was, when I made that freaking blog post about how the whole thing was surrounded around Triple H over CM Punk rather than being around champions. But and then 2010, going back even further than that, we had Daniel Bryan over The Miz for the U.S. title, and it looks like Randy Orton won. Oh, actually, there were a lot more than two on this one. It looks like, yeah, Randy Orton won the WWE title. Dashing Dreams, I don't know if you remember them. Dashing Dreams won the tag championships on that show, and Michelle McCool took the Divas title from Melina on that show. So apparently it's not two on every show, but two seems to be the average.
Right. So I'm going to say that this will not fit into the average. We'll probably only see one title change on this show. And again, I
think so too. I think one is going to be the number this year.
I'm thinking Intercontinental personally, and we'll get to that again in a second. So yeah, Sheamus wins in what should be a great matchup. It's disheartening for Cesaro, and I'm not even saying that because I'm a fan of his, of course, though that does have influence.
Right.
Just such a great talent, and I feel like there was so much direction for him at the start of the year, and I'm just wondering how we got here. Like, it's weird, but it is what it is. Hell, he's on the card. Bray Wyatt isn't even on this card, so there are other people, I guess, doing worse, so to speak. But there you go.
How sad is that? Bray Wyatt not even on the freaking card.
I know, man, I know. You have anything else you want to say about this encounter, or should we move on?
You sounded so defeated right there, John.
I love both guys. It's hard. It's hard. Everybody I like always ends up somewhere. So, you want to talk Intercontinental, or do you want to do Divas, or?
Yeah, let's do Intercontinental, then we'll do Divas, then we'll do World.
Okay, so we've got The Miz taking on Dolph Ziggler. And I know, I'm sure a lot of people probably wanted to shoot me when I'm like, well, actually, I think the Intercontinental Championship could change hands, because I love Dolph, and seeing him with a title just feels so right. It does. It's like waking up to Bluebird singing and making you breakfast, and you wonder how the hell they got in the house, but you don't care because it's a good time. But the thing is, I keep thinking about Bad News Barrett. And I keep thinking about that he's going to return eventually. And I would assume that because it's an injury and they like to play up injuries, maybe, if only briefly, he'll be a babyface. I just think he would almost have to have a heel champion awaiting him. Would that be The Miz? I don't know. It doesn't have to be. But, I mean, considering that he is kind of in the spotlight right now, you know, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, especially because I didn't expect Ziggler to win the title back at SummerSlam. That was a shock to me. I did not expect that to happen. That was actually, I think, the first match of the night, and I was like, wow, you got to be kidding me. He even kicked out of a skull-crushing finale, which shocked me. Here, they may try and do it again and be like, oh, well, you know, it's Ziggler's, you know, second big-time defense. You know, can he do it? Because they had a rematch on Raw, but then Ziggler got counted out, so Miz won that. So now, you know, they're going to settle it here, and Miz could pull it out. This is actually one of the matches where I'm deeply conflicted, but I think I'm going to go with my first really upset prediction, probably only upset prediction on this card. I'm going to say Miz regains the Intercontinental Championship after like a 10-minute bout. So
I think that Dolph is going to retain, and again, I think this. I'm not trying to call you out or anything, because I don't see it as a big problem. I just think that this is another example of you overthinking it, because kind of like with the whole Sheamus Cesaro thing, you thought that, oh, well, Rusev is going against John Cena, and therefore Rusev won't be going against Sheamus, and therefore Sheamus doesn't need to be U.S. champion anymore. Whereas to me, Sheamus is one of those guys that the WWE might even forget that he even has the U.S. title, and he's just going to win every match regardless of whether he has a championship or not.
Right.
So to me, it's just Sheamus. It's like it's the same thing with Cena and the Usos. It's just LOL Sheamus wins.
Right.
And obviously that rule does not apply to Dolph Ziggler. But again, you're thinking Barrett's coming back, but he's going to be a face, so the champion needs to be heel. But we need to establish three things. First of all, it's Bad News Barrett. If he does come back, the WWE is going to book him as a heel.
Okay.
Second of all, even if he does come back as a babyface, he might, if the WWE does it the right way, be more over than Ziggler.
Right.
And third of all, regardless of whether he's a heel or a face, I don't think The Miz is done chasing the Intercontinental title. And if The Miz would win, then this would make my theory even more viable. I think that we're going to get a triple threat match, Ziggler, Miz, and Barrett.
I could see that.
And I don't think it matters if Barrett's a heel or a face. And because of that, and because Dolph literally just won the IC title at SummerSlam, I think Ziggler retains here.
I see. It's difficult for me, man, because to me, I think the Intercontinental Championship spot is pretty ideal for The Miz right now, and it only
You know what,
stops...
though, dude? That's the thing. We thought that the Intercontinental Championship spot was ideal for The Miz going into SummerSlam, but nobody gave a crap. We say, oh, The Miz is so much better now, but the crowds aren't reacting that way. The crowds do not care about The Miz at all. WWE hears that. They realize that. They know that Dolph is going to get a huge reaction regardless of where you are. They're going to keep the title on him, in my opinion. And even if that means just keeping it on him long enough for Barrett to pin The Miz in a triple threat match to win it back, and then we could get something interesting to unfold out of that. But yeah, I do think that the WWE realizes that even though The Miz might be better than he's ever been from a character standpoint right now, he's not getting the reactions to really reflect that.
Right. And see, to me, the wild card in what Miz does in the future, I think, comes down to Damien Mizdow as well. Right. Because I think the Intercontinental Championship picture stops becoming ideal for Miz when they decide to evolve this whole idea of Miz having a stun double.
And yeah, exactly. And that's another thing, because if The Miz does win the title, then all of a sudden the Intercontinental Championship picture gets really crowded, because I give it no more than 3 months before Mizdow turns on The Miz. In which case, if The Miz was holding the Intercontinental title at that point, Mizdow would want to challenge him for it.
Yeah, honestly, and that's another thing too. If I am putting forward a serious prediction, I could see Damien Sandow, if only briefly, having a run with the Intercontinental Championship this year at the expense of The Miz. And maybe that's another reason why I'm picking him to almost beat Ziggler here. Because here's the thing, even if he doesn't beat Ziggler now, I see Miz regaining the IC Championship, but maybe only 2 fall to Damien Sandow. Something is going on here, and I don't exactly have all the pieces.
No, see, John, again, I think that you're valuing the title too much, because I think that Miz and Sandow don't need a title for that match to be interesting, for people to want to see Sandow beat the crap out of The Miz.
I think you're right, but
I don't think it makes any sense for The Miz to win the title back at all.
But I think maybe also what it comes down to for me as well is that I think, how can I put this? I think there's a part of WWE that almost may like seeing Ziggler being that chaser, being that struggling babyface, because we've heard the promos he's cut, we've heard the connection he's forged with the crowd, and maybe they just wanted to give him this little bit only to drive more sympathy in the long run. See, Ziggler is so complex to me, because I want to see him.
Now it sounds to me like you're trying to convince yourself at this point.
See, I don't know, dude. So many pieces here that
it's like you have a gut feeling that The Miz is going to win, and you're trying to explain it.
I do, though. I'm not pedaling back. I do think Miz is going to win the Intercontinental Championship for one reason or another.
I get that. I completely understand that. I just disagree. I think that Ziggler has got to retain here. Miz doesn't. I don't think The Miz is going to win the IC title back for at least a year. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I don't think that this incarnation of The Miz is going to have another Intercontinental Championship run. I think Ziggler is going to retain. I think that in the future we're going to get a triple threat between Ziggler, Miz, and Barrett, and then in that match, Sandow is going to screw Miz out of the title, causing him to get pinned by Barrett. And then we get the Miz versus Sandow, non-title, doesn't need a championship for it to be interesting. And then Ziggler and Barrett would break off into a separate feud as well.
I think they're going to have some banging matches, too, Ziggler and Barrett. That'd be pretty cool. I could see that booking unfold. Yeah, I mean, I certainly could. I think it fits Barrett into the picture quite neatly. I don't know though. Like I said, I do picture some kind of a title change going on, and for some reason, I just feel like this is the match where it's going to occur. So, yeah, my probably only contrary tag of the night, yeah, Miz is going to regain the Intercontinental Championship. So,
All right. Well, that's our first real disagreement. Did we end up agreeing on Sheamus winning, or did you want to pick Cesaro for that?
Yeah, no, I picked Sheamus.
Okay. All right, our first disagreement of the night. I believe we are about to have another one. Triple Threat Divas Championship match. Paige, AJ, Nikki. Make your pick, John.
I say Paige retains.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Because I've been thinking about it. Brie's not in this match. I think she's not in this match so that she can ensure that Nikki doesn't win it either. So they're going to negate each other. I think I've really come around. I've kind of put my fears that this feud is going to swallow up the Divas Championship in the back of my mind, and I'm trying to look at this more logically, more objectively. I don't think Paige and AJ are done with each other. I think Paige is going to survive. Maybe if it is pinning Nikki, maybe Brie doesn't even entirely remove Nikki from the situation. Maybe she just lays her out and Paige capitalizes. But yeah, the Bellas, like you were saying earlier about Miz and Sandow, the Bellas do not need the Divas Championship. More importantly, I don't want them to have the Divas Championship, but they certainly don't need it. I think if anything, it would be a detriment to the title. I think Paige is going to pin Nikki after Brie, messes her up. AJ maybe taken out like earlier on so that she can't make the save. So yeah, we keep the window open for one final Paige and AJ one-on-one encounter. So, yeah, I'm picking Paige to retain.
I see your logic here. I do disagree, though. I think that AJ is winning the title back.
Really?
And here's my thought here now. You said you think Brie is going to be a deciding factor in this match, right?
Right.
Brie's a babyface.
Yes.
AJ is also a babyface.
Right.
Paige isn't.
Right.
Paige is a heel.
That's correct.
We have a situation where we've got a heel champion and a heel challenger and a babyface challenger and the potential of a babyface interference. I think that all signs point to AJ getting her baby back.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think your logic boils down to a babyface almost overcoming the odds because she's facing two heel oppositions in the same match.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think that when you look at the build-up for this match, even this past week, we had Paige and Nikki Bella on the same freaking team against AJ and Brie. Brie's not in this match. Brie's not in this match. But there are two possibilities of her being involved in this match. Possibility number one, she does something to piss Stephanie McMahon off enough that she puts her in the match, kind of like what happened with the whole Ambrose Rollins Money in the Bank ladder match kind of deal. Or option number two, she, out of spite for not being in the match in the first place, costs Nikki the match. And if option number one happens, I think that basically either way, I think that Brie is going to go so far out of her way to cost Nikki the championship that if she's in the match, it'll cost herself the championship as well. And if she's not in the match, she's going to end up going out of her way to help the only babyface in the match. In her opinion, AJ is the only friend that she has in that ring. So she's going to help her. She's going to try to help her at least. They were partners. And even if you go back to the tag match on Monday, Nikki Bella pulled heel tactics off on AJ. She's got a target on her back already from AJ. And this whole feud has been about this whole build-up from SummerSlam has been about AJ getting back inside the head of Paige. I think that, like I said, dude, all signs point to AJ Lee winning this match.
Very interesting. I like your logic there, too. I'm just glad that both of us agreed that a Bella is not going to have their crap swallow up the Divas Championship. Because I think, really, I think you and I can both agree, the Bellas exist merely to negate each other in this match. And then it really does come down to, in its own way, Paige and AJ yet again. And it's funny. I'm picking Paige. You're picking AJ. But we both kind of see Brie Bella as this wild card to make both of our booking matters, come to light here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we look at our ideas, I think that you are kind of banking on Brie being more obsessed with hurting Nikki than helping anyone. And I think that I'm focused on her wanting to hurt Nikki, but also to help AJ because, like I said, AJ's the babyface and they have that connection.
And see, I could see that, but I think also, I think back to the, and I can't believe I'm about to use this as a serious foundation, the Jerry Springer segment. And Brie just came off of that segment sounding so jaded. Like, you cost me my match at SummerSlam, you betrayed me, you hurt me, all this stuff, like, sounding so just destroyed, so bitter. I think she is consumed with the thought, she screwed me out of my match against Stephanie, she screwed me out of my redemption, I'll be damned if I make her taste the Divas Championship. To me, dude, personally, I think if we're looking at it as just this Brie and Nikki feud, AJ isn't even, like, in her rearview mirror. It is just all Nikki.
Right.
How can I
dude, that's why I
her?
think that both of our logics or our logical conclusions are viable. I think that basically it comes down to the WWE's decision. Does the WWE decide to keep Paige looking like a cheap, cowardly heel, and she kind of lays low for the whole match, and then when Brie decides she wants to screw Nikki over, she kind of swoops in and picks the corpses, so to speak? Or do we have the WWE saying that AJ is the most over person in the entire Divas division? The Paige experiment isn't working right now. We need to give the title back to AJ, and by doing that, they have obviously Brie screw Nikki over for her fellow babyface.
Right. Well, I think this discussion has made the match more interesting than I was interested in it going into it. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna say Paige retains for my logic. I love yours though. Love how it all shakes out. Again, what I'm really elated about at the end of the day, neither one of us picked a Bella. Thank goodness for that. So,
well, I mean, I think that it's one of those things where I've had myself convinced, like, I'm in denial that anybody on Total Divas will ever win the Divas Championship. And so far, that denial has been 100% fact for me.
Right.
Like, the fact that I'm being, like, borderline delusionally denying just, it's never going to happen, no way, never, even if, in the back of my mind, I truly believe crap, they're going to give the title to one of the divas, one of the Total Divas, even just because I keep on telling myself, nope, not going to happen. That delusion has been correct. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, run with it, dude. Run with it. It's kind of like my booking of Roman Reigns after Survivor Series. Just never bet against it. Once you have this idea in mind, run with it. Because I've even tried going against my own ideas like Roman Reigns. You see what it does for me. So stick to your guns, man. Yep, it works. So there you go. I'm picking Paige, you're picking AJ. And that leaves only one match, if I'm not mistaken.
Our main event, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar.
I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to hand it to you, because I feel like I've afforded a lot of exposition. I'd like your take, especially on this main event. I want everybody listening to ask the right question about this match, because the incorrect question is Lesnar going to win? To me, that's almost a nonsensical question. The correct question to ask is, well, how is he going to win? But more importantly, how is John Cena going to lose?
Yeah, is he going to lose? I like that. I like that a lot.
How is John Cena going to lose? Is he going to lose preserving his character, or is he going to lose after exercising every dirty trick in the book that would make even Ric Flair blush? That is the question. So I'm going to give it to you, Ashton. Give me your thoughts on this match, just how it all lays out, because you were the one. And why I want to give it to Ashton, guys, he was the one who crafted the John Cena fan theory, which if you guys haven't seen it, go on his channel, scour through the TwitWow archives we have on there, find that video and watch it. It's one of my favorite discussions this year on TwitWow for me personally.
And it should be easy to find because the name of the video is literally John Cena fan theory.
Yes, go back and listen to it, because I feel like
and
ever
dude,
since
I think
Cena's...
it's every video since then that we've put out on TwitWow that starts with John Cena. Like, one of them is John Cena blah, 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 but he can't admit it to himself. And then the most recent one was John Cena is breaking or he's about to break or something like that. Like anything where I'm just saying something about John Cena in the title, it's got to do with the fan theory and progressing forward with the fan theory.
And that's the word, Ashton, progressing, because I think we've seen progress for your fan theory. And after John Cena's interaction with Paul Heyman this past Monday, that's why I'm saying maybe it'll just be me as a fan, and there is a lot of bias here. I will come clean. I will say that right now. I will be super disappointed if Night of Champions goes off the air with Lesnar just holding the belt up high, walking away, and we get nothing from Cena. Because the last time I felt that way was, I think, Survivor Series, I want to say 2010, when his job was on the line and he counted the pinfall for Randy Orton against Wade Barrett and just nothing happened. He just went and high-fived the fans and the show closed. This is kind of a similar situation. Something needs to happen here. But this time, I actually feel like something will. So,
John, I just got a revelation.
All right? You have the floor, dude. Take all the time you need.
Rusev is the perfect next opponent for John Cena.
Why do you say that?
What is the number one most important thing to John Cena in the world?
I was going to say respect.
Okay, hustle, loyalty, and respect, right?
The code, yeah.
Okay, look at those three words. Hustle implies that you put in more work than anybody else. It implies that you try harder than anybody else. And it implies that you work harder than anybody else.
Right.
He does all those things, and yet he cannot beat somebody who puts in half the work, half the effort, tries half as hard, Brock Lesnar, right?
Right.
So the hustle thing, it's starting to be questionable at this point.
Yes.
Loyalty is next.
Loyalty being, unwavering supporting somebody, standing by somebody or something side, never giving up on that thing, whatever it is.
Suppose that thing's America, John.
Okay, now I see where you're going.
Suppose John Cena comes out on Monday night talking about, it was a hard-fought victory, but I know I'll come back eventually. And suppose he cuts the typical John Cena promo, and then Lana comes out. And she has Rusev by her side, and she starts cutting a promo on Cena talking about how he failed. He's not as good anymore. And then John Cena says, he dips into the John Cena jar, and he says, I might have failed in my match, but I know that I never fail those kids that I go to, and I never fail our soldiers. And then Lana takes a pot shot at the soldiers.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going, but my question is, because going back to the fan theory, I've loved the discussions you and I have had about John Cena, about his road to WrestleMania after this match with Lesnar. Could he contribute anything positively to that, or is he only a regression? Because I view Rusev at this point, for me personally, as a regression. Because if Cena does this feud, I am convinced that he is going to beat Rusev, and then everything's reset. Yes.
The fact that Rusev isn't as established as Brock Lesnar might even be better for this storyline.
Oh, because you see it almost like even if Cena wins, like he's just taking scraps now or something like that. Or like,
but if he struggles to win, suppose he's really struggling to put Rusev away. Suppose every time he tries to pick Rusev up for an AA, Rusev wiggles his way out of it and hits John with a huge kick to the face or something like that. Suppose John Cena just can't seem to put this so-called rookie away for good.
Right.
What level is John Cena willing to stoop to defend his loyalty?
See, and that's the thing. To bring it full circle, if I may, for a second, that kind of line of thinking, it needs to happen in this match. You and I had a discussion, I think it was a 12-hour discussion, where I said, if they had to do this match differently than SummerSlam, if they had to make it more competitive to make it seem like Cena had a shot, he needs to unveil some dirty tactics. Eye rakes, using the ropes, maybe distracting the ref. Hell, maybe even a low blow after he escapes on an F5. Maybe there's a ref bump somewhere and Cena can conceivably get a low blow in. He needs to do everything. And then when he loses, but there are still remnants, there are still remains of like that kind of mindset of doing anything to win. Same thing with Rusev, this big imposing figure. Does the same thing. Maybe not as aggressively as against Lesnar, but still some of those tendencies reveal themselves. And ultimately it comes back to these guys, whether it's Lesnar, whether it's Rusev, proving that Cena just cannot hang at that level anymore. So I see what you're saying, dude. I really like that. This could work.
And who has this whole storyline been, in my fan theory, who has this whole story been built around getting John Cena to face?
Roman Reigns, right?
Yeah. So you go from Brock Lesnar, this established veteran who makes you question just how important hustle really is, to Rusev, who is a rookie by all means, but you just can't seem to put him away, and he just constantly is questioning your loyalty. You're most loyal to your country, to the troops, to the kids, all of this stuff, and Rusev and Lana are just tearing that down, making you question it, not even making you question it, but trying to force you to make you defend it. And you're not able to defend it to your fullest because you can't put Rusev away, like I said. Even if he beats Rusev, if it takes him 15 minutes to do it and he almost gets beaten by Rusev, and then after the match, Rusev is still in good enough condition. Say John Cena beats him with a roll-up, and then Rusev pops up and he starts trying to beat down John Cena. Cena, maybe he has to stoop down to defending himself with a chair or something like that, just taking that next step. And that's the loyalty thing. But then you come across this kid, this 27, 28-year-old kid who is absolutely nothing like you. You pride yourself on how hard you work, how good of an employee you are, how loyal you are to the fans. And this dude just doesn't care about anything. He only cares about himself. All he cares about is freaking beating other people up. And you come across him and he is getting more positive reactions from the crowd than you at this point. How can you respect that? How can you, as a man, respect what that represents?
So the big story here involving all these different players is literally just the erosion of the code that John Cena abides by.
Exactly.
I love it. I freaking love it. So to go back to point A, being Night of Champions, being this match, I mean, what I want to know from you, so that we're in agreement. One, you and I both, I think everybody and their mother agrees, Lesnar is retaining here.
Of course.
That shouldn't even be a topic of serious discussion.
Right.
Again, I think where the serious discussion takes place is, A, do you think it'll be more competitive than SummerSlam? B,
yes.
If it is, do you think it'll just be another squash, or do you think Cena will resort to dirtier tactics? Like, how do you see Cena acting, and I guess how do you see Lesnar reacting? Like how do you just see the whole thing playing out, I guess is what I'm really trying to ask. Like, do you see Cena kind of, betraying his own code for the sake of winning the championship? And
not for Lesnar. Maybe like one instance where he just does something and it really makes the commentators be like, wow, that doesn't really seem like something that the old John Cena would have done, but he did it. One time. That's all we need. We don't need him to spend the whole match raking the guy's eyes and trying to go for low blows and cheating. Just one instance. One time. Maybe Brock is the one that takes the referee out and Cena goes for a chair. Something as simple as that.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say, you know what it's going to be? Because I agree with you. I don't think WWE is going to go over the top with it. As much as I would love that story to kind of unfold and the tactics get more and more aggressive and more like in your face, I do think it'll just be one act. I do agree with you there. I think it'll be maybe like a ref bump again, maybe like in the corner or something like that, or maybe Cena goes for an AA and Lesnar's leg somehow hit the referee, just somehow. And Cena goes for a chair. He's about to swing. Like, he takes the swing, and the commentators really note that. But Lesnar intercepts, hits another AA where Cena's skull reverberates off the chair. Lesnar disposes of the evidence, gets the pin, retains the championship. But it's really emphasized that Cena introduced the chair in the match to begin with. And there you go.
Exactly. Like I said, all you need is one instance of Cena kind of loosening up on his morality and not being the Boy Scout that he's been so well known for. And that right there is the start of something huge.
Not only is it the start of something huge, the loosening of John Cena's morality, as you said, because I like how you phrased that, and again, your fan theory, all of these things have been the biggest selling point to me about this match. Because if I could see into the future and see that John Cena was going to stand by his character, try and give a competitive match, try and pull a Rocky, so to speak, against Ivan Drago here of Brock Lesnar, I honestly would not care. I'd have fun with it. Certainly I would. But this is where my fascination comes in. It's not about the match. It's not even about the championship. It's about John Cena's character. Because if there's one thing I can credit WWE with over the years, every time they tease like they're going to make some kind of alteration or take John Cena's character down some kind of path, you know that it's done something to all of us, because that seems where like a lot of passionate discussion really takes place. I mean, that's how dedicated the character's been for over 10 years, that any sign of a change, I think, just erupts this kind of reaction of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, can't miss stuff. I'm intrigued for this main event simply for that. How does John Cena act in this match? How does he act in the post-match? Just everything revolving back to that character. Where does Lesnar move on next? I have been pleading with anybody who cares. Randy Orton. Where does John Cena move on after that? Well, after Ashton's friggin' selling pitch, I welcome Rusev. But there is no way that Cena is beating Lesnar here. I mean, I've even heard people say that he may beat Lesnar, but Rollins cashes in. I don't see any of that. I see Lesnar winning decisively again, and the big story, the big question that everybody should really be asking themselves when they ponder this match, how is John Cena going to lose? And there you go.
Absolutely. I am so glad that we got that discussion done. Do you have anything else to say?
Guys, for me, I think there are some good matches on this show. I'm looking forward to Cesaro, Sheamus in particular, and the main event, again, purely for the story. I think this is one of the bigger story main events that we've had revolving around the world title. I'll be intrigued to see how it all plays out. How is Dean Ambrose going to reemerge? What is Seth Rollins going to do? So there are a lot of intriguing elements on this pay-per-view. I'm expecting a good show. Again, I don't expect anything too awful. We'll see how it measures up to NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, as if it can. But it should be an excellent show, and I'm always excited to do live reactions, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, John just said it. We are going to be doing live reactions tomorrow night, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, after live reactions, we'll be doing Monday Night Raw, TwitWow on Monday night. That will most likely be up on Tuesday afternoon because I will be watching football at the same time as Raw and won't catch everything, and I'll have to watch it over again. So, we have predicted, we have previewed, and we are going to be live reacting tomorrow night, and we will see you all then.
Peace!